Hello, this is Sophomore Astrology. My name is Sarah, and for this video, I'm going to talk about the Leo rising or Leo ascendant, right? So, before I kind of dive into really talking about what this means in astrology, I want to talk about what is the ascendant sign, right? What is the rising sign? I use those words interchangeably. They pretty much just mean the same thing. But, your rising sign is your mask. It is your externalized personality when people first meet you. It's the initial impression that you kind of give off. You know, once people get to know you, they might start to say stuff like, oh, when I first met you, I thought you were this way, that way. The way you came off, I wasn't sure, but now I know. You know, what they're describing is your ascendant sign. And when people talk about like, oh, you know, don't judge a book by its cover, the cover is the ascendant sign, you know? It's literally just the first energy that you pick off of someone when they just kind of are in your presence for the first time. So how do you calculate the ascendant sign? So it's fairly easy. You could simply Google ascendant or rising sign calculator, or you could just kind of like calculate your whole entire birth chart. It'll compute regardless of which one you do. And then once you kind of have that calculator set up, you just need to know your birth date, the city that you were born in, and then more specifically, you need to know your time. The ascendant sign is very sensitive to time because the ascendant sign changes every 2 hours, right? So what's cool about calculating it is that it'll come up with your degree. Now, your degree will let you know if you're like a solid Leo rising, or if it's like an earlier degree, then you can kind of like, oh, you know, you can kind of figure like maybe I have more traits of being like a Cancer rising. Or if it's a later degree, you might have traits and you might be more like a Virgo rising, right? So yeah, that's pretty much how you calculate it. So after you calculate it, the reason why I think, the reason why I think that the ascendant sign is so important is because it sets up the rest of your houses. Each house represents an area of your life, right? And when you put a sign in that house, like the sign is able to kind of really give that area of your life a different color, a different tone, and it can really like explain things for you a lot easier. When it comes to like trying to just understand yourself in different arenas of life. So specifically for a Leo rising, the way your houses are set up is that you have obviously like Leo is in the first house. Then you have Virgo in the second, Libra in the third house, and then Scorpio in the fourth house. Then next you have Sagittarius in the fifth house. In the sixth house, you have Capricorn. In the seventh house, you have Aquarius. In the eighth house, you have Pisces. And then Aries is in the ninth house. Taurus is in the 10th house. And then Gemini is in the 11th house. And then last but not least, you have Cancer in the 12th house. So those are pretty much the setup of the houses. Now, the reason why I kind of like for each of these videos, I talk about celebrities is because most of the time, the average person or the general population don't really know the ins and outs of these people. Like maybe people closer to them, like their family, friends, or colleagues that have known them for 10 plus years. We don't know these people, right? So that's why it's great to kind of understand what their ascendant sign is, because it's kind of like it's the first initial impression that we get of them. So when I looked it up and I found celebrities that have Leo ascendants, the celebrities I came up with are Sting, Selena Gomez, Johnny Depp, Eddie Murphy, Natalie Cole, Jake Gyllenhaal, and then we have Drake. Now those are the celebrities that have a Leo ascendant. So now that I've kind of like given you an intro of what the Leo ascendant kind of is, or at least how to calculate and all that information, now we can kind of get into the houses. Now I don't go over every house, but the houses that I do go over, I do my best to kind of explain that energy, right? So the first one, we have Leo in the first house. Now here I'm just really like describing what the ascendant energy is for someone who has Leo in this placement, right? Because these people could be very vibrant. They're very solar. It's almost like having sun in the first house. So it's like you feel like you're just like they're emitting all this solar plexus energy. If you know about chakras, it's very confident. It's a lot of self-esteem there. It's a lot of like, it's very warm and welcoming, just how, you know, you feel when you're sunbathing. It feels like you're sunbathing in front of these people. Of course, you know, there's light and dark to every sign. And I really do feel like just because, you know, Leos really do embody the sun doesn't mean that, you know, we don't have, you know, another side to us as well. But I'm just kind of saying, at least when it comes to this, your initial impression, people will definitely say that you're a very warm person, a very welcoming person, that you really know how to brighten the room, that you really know how to, like, it's very lively energy. It's very upbeat. Like, these people, you might meet them, and even though you might not know what else is going on in their chart, they will definitely make you feel as though, you know, if you're having a bad day, they could definitely pick you up with their energy because it's just so vibrant, it's so lively, it's so warm, it's so, like, welcoming, you know? You know, that's something someone might need after having a rough day or something like that. I also feel like because we have Leo here, these people could be very bold. They can seem very bold, and because they have that confidence, it kind of seems like they could be very center stage very easily, that they could really put on, that they could, like, be, like, you know, when they're put in social situations, whether that they know that they're whether they know that they're going to be put in social situations or not, they could really, like, put on, you know, and really kind of be that person that is very much the limelight, the center of the party, the center of attention. You know, that's very much Leo in the first house. Of course, you know, like I said, like, the dark side of it is just looking out to be, like, making sure you're not, like, you know, completely focused on self, because Leos have, like, the stereotype of being very self-centered, very focused on self. But I mean, you know, that's kind of what happens with the sun, you know, it kind of comes all together with it. But, you know, that's just kind of like my take on Leo in the first house, or having the sun in the first house. It's just like these people really embody solar energy and solar plexus energy as well. So, to get into the next placement, we have Libra in the third. Now, the third house is all about communication. It's also about early child education, somebody's communication style, maybe how their mind and their thinking works. So when we put Libra, which is a cardinal air sign, in this third house, it's very comfortable because the third house is of the air element, and so is Libra. So when it comes to thought communication, it could feel very natural for these people. But because Libra is ruled by Venus, which is a planet of, like, beauty, love, romance, all those things, these people could be very loving with their communication. They could be very charismatic as well. People will love to talk to them. They could really, like, smooth things over with how they say things and do things. That's why I think what's so cool about the Leo rising or Leo ascendant, it's not just their energy, but it's the way that they speak too. Because their thought could feel very thoughtful, very tactful, you know. I mean, of course, you have to look at the rest of the chart, but these people really have the potential to really, like, not just captivate a room with their energy, but they could captivate it with what they say, you know. Just add that much more depth to who they are, their boldness, their solar plexus energy, and all of that stuff, you know. As children, I also feel like they were very thoughtful, very tactful. I think these kids really know how to talk to adults because they really learn as a child how to really, like, play both sides. I mean, this could be like a devil's advocate on the other hand, but at the same time, it's like they might really learn how to negotiate. They might really know, like, understand what fairness and justice is. Or as a kid, they might be that kid who really is like, hey, that person got a candy bar because they learn all their multiplications, right? Like, why can't I get my candy bar because I did the same thing? Like, these kids will be very advocates of themselves with fair treatment as a kid. You know, they really understand the rules, and they really, like, play that to their ability. I really feel like that's what these kids learn. And I also feel like these people could be very much auditory learners. You know, they learn with what they hear around them. They really pick up not even just, like, what people say, but how they say it as well. And, like, the tone, the beauty, the tactfulness, the thoughtfulness, they will definitely learn that as they get older. So the next one I want to talk about, the next placement, is that they have Scorpio in the fourth house. Now, the fourth house, it rules Cancer, and Cancer is ruled by the moon. And I don't know if you know this about astrology, but Scorpio falls when it's in moon. Like, when someone has their Scorpio moon, that placement is at a fault, meaning that Scorpio is uncomfortable or the moon is uncomfortable being in this sign. So Scorpio is uncomfortable being in the 4th house. And the reason being is that Cancer is known to be a sign that is cardinal water. You know, it just kind of pushes and it kind of just goes for things. It's very direct with its emotionality. Versus Scorpio can be very fixated and can be very stubborn, and it could be very deep as well. You know, if you're just trying to initiate emotion, the emotion can't be that deep, and Scorpio is that deep. So I feel like people with this sign, they really understand like feminine energy to have a lot of depth, to be very powerful, to be very deep. You know, and also with that though, even though that there is a darkness with Scorpio, doesn't necessarily mean that Scorpio is evil. I just want to make that known, is that darkness and evil don't equate to each other. But what I'm trying to get at here is with it is that they will like learn very transformative life lessons through either femininity, through their mother, through their feminine parent. You know, there might be like a deep type of emotion there. You know, there might be some type of rejection from this energy as well. There might be some rejection from the women in their family. There's a lot of karma here, and there's a lot of karma specifically with feminine energy when it comes to someone's family and their ancestral roots. You know, there might be some type of generational curse related to women here, and it might be related to stuff like death, sex, and stuff like that. So that's also to keep in mind. But also too, with Scorpio being in the 4th house here, it also means that these people are very comfortable with being in the darkness. They might really understand what it's like to be children of the underworld, because like I said, the 4th house is motherly energy. So this could mean that these people could really they could really be comfortable when it comes to like dark feminine energy. And like I said, that dark feminine energy does not equate to being evil. It's just there's not light there. It's not readily seen. It's very hidden. But things that are hidden are usually the most powerful. So yeah, that's pretty much my take on Scorpio in the 4th house. Now, the next placement I'm going to talk about is Sagittarius in the 5th house. Now, the 5th house is all about games, entertainment, dating. That is really Leo energy in itself, because the 5th house rules Leo. So this is like Leo rising's like arena, you know what I'm saying? And then when you put Sagittarius here, Sagittarius is immutable fire. So Sagittarius is not so like uncomfortable being here, because both the 5th house and Sagittarius are of the fire element here. The nice thing that the Sagittarius kind of like brings to the situation is that like it brings that mutable, bouncy, here and there energy. It's very like that ebb and flow energy, but when it comes to the fire element. So these people could be very vibrant, very here and there. You know, when it comes to parties, they really will know how to like move their energy in a room. They won't just stick like maybe talking to maybe one person or anything like that. And that's why I feel like Leos, that's why they bring the sun wherever they go, because wherever they go, people are able to feel that solar energy. And I feel like Sagittarius in this house is what allows that flexibility and adaptability in social situations. I definitely feel like with Sagittarius being here, what Sagittarius is different than maybe the other signs is that I feel like Sagittarius, because they're the archer, they like to poke fun, you know? They really like to have that playful teasing, you know? They're definitely, when it comes to flirting, they might tease the person that they're with, but in a very playful way, not in a like a gaslighting way, in a very playful, fun way, you know? And I also kind of feel like when it comes to like dating and entertainment, they might need a couple of things around them to keep them entertained. If they really are just about like they dedicate a day or a night to just having fun, they might need to have a couple of different groups of friends around, or they need to have a movie on, music playing, games going, you know, people outside are talking. Like they need to have multiple scenarios where they can kind of bounce their energy here and there when they socialize, because they might get bored if they're just sitting in a chair all night talking to one person the whole entire time. Sagittarius in the 5th house does not want to do something like that, right? So yeah, I just kind of feel like these people are very fun when it comes to dating, but also too with that mutable energy, you know, when it comes to dating, if they get bored with the person, they might just move on to the next, depending on what else is going on in their chart. That is a possibility. So I just wanted to throw that out there. But on the other hand, when we're talking about the next sign where they have Aquarius in the seventh, you know, the seventh house rules long-term relationships, you know, the platonic ones, definitely the romantic ones you have. The seventh house is also about business partners, marriage. So, and it's also, I believe it's also of open enemies as well. And so it could be as simple as they might have like a lot of enemies that are Aquarius, or it could just mean, or they can mean like they could marry people who have Aquarius qualities, or they could just straight up just marry an Aquarius. Who knows? But it's kind of like, I feel like the long-term relationships that they attract are people who have like a water bearer spirit. Something about them is different than the mainstream. You know, these people might pursue a lifestyle or a career that's unconventional, that other people are not doing. You know, they might really like be attracted to people who are trendsetters, because it makes sense that maybe they have people in their corner that are able to kind of put them on to things that nobody else knows about. That's very Aquarius energy, where they can have people, hey, like, let me put you onto this, let me put you onto that before people know about it. And then with them being a Leo rising, when they take those suggestions, they're really able to kind of seem like trendsetters themselves, and people will see that like Aquarius energy kind of like take on this Leo energy, and people are really like, oh, that is so cool. You know, this is when this is when people see new ideas as cool, is when you add a little Leo energy to it, you know, because sometimes people will think that Aquarius is just weird energy. Yeah, I also kind of feel like because Aquarius it rules the 11th house, and the 11th house is all about friendships, these people could simply just end up being with someone who's their best friend. You know, I kind of feel like when you watch a lot of like romantic comedies and you hear about those two friends who've known each other since forever, they know everything about each other and they love each other so much, but they never end up together. Like this, I feel like that's what maybe Leo ascendants kind of get themselves into, where they end up being with the person who's like known them since their childhood or something like that. Like the person that's always been their friend, who's always been there, but maybe they never saw them in that way. That's definitely, I kind of feel like what can happen here with Aquarius in the 7th house, right? Yeah, so that's pretty much, and then the last thing I'll say is like they might attract business partners who are very much conscientious of the community and of people, and they might really be part of a cause. They might really want to advocate for certain charities or nonprofit organizations when they're doing business with them. So I also wanted to mention that too. The next house I want to talk about is that they have Taurus in the 10th house. Now, if you noticed anything about the celebrities I mentioned, it kind of seemed like all of them had, like maybe they had ups and downs, but so far it seems like the projection of their career has been pretty consistent. And I want to say that is because they have Taurus in the 10th house. Taurus is a fixed earth, and then the 10th house is about like career, legacy, the things that you will leave behind, what you will be known for, your public life, your public image as well. You know, what are you known for, and what are you going to be known for once you leave this planet, once you leave this third dimensional world, right? So when you have Taurus here, it's almost like these people will have a reputation of being very consistent hard workers. Or they could have the reputation of being calm. And even if they don't have the reputation of being calm, because depending on what else is going on in their chart, it's like they'll be known to be very adamant. You know, these people you can really rely on to be there every day. Like I know for a period of time, like Drake was dropping an album every 2 years consistently. You know, that is very like Taurus in the 10th house, right? Regardless of how you feel about him or you feel about the celebrities I mentioned, like you can kind of say like they're very consistent with their work and their work ethic, if you will. Whether you think their work ethic is what you aspire to or something that you feel like they need to fix, it's kind of been consistent, if you get what I mean. Yeah, I honestly feel like when you have Taurus in the 10th house, I feel like this is the closest thing to what the pharaohs were trying to achieve in Kemet or in ancient Egypt, right? Where it was like they were trying to leave a consistent legacy behind, because Taurus is the most stubborn sign in the zodiac, or can be. So it's just kind of like these people will be very adamant and tried and true, and really will walk an inch every day, so that at the end of the life, at their end of the, oh my gosh, I can't speak. They will walk an inch every day if that's what it takes to get to the end result that they want at the end of their life. These people have very consistent goals and achievements that they want to achieve, and they just might achieve them because, like I said, Taurus is probably the most stubborn sign in the zodiac. So yeah, that's kind of like my take on Taurus in the 10th house. So the last one I'm going to talk about is Cancer in the 12th. Now, the 12th house is about your undoing. It's your spirituality. It also speaks to your karma. The 12th house is like a house ruled, or it rules Pisces. So this is a very spiritual house. And it can also speak to like the energy that you really learned or embodied in a past life, and you might have just forgotten how to really make that energy work for you. And what I want to say to people who have their Leo rising or Leo ascendant is that, like, because, you know, you embody the spirit of a crab, you know, you and also too of like the 4th house and Cancer and the moon. This energy is very nurturing, and I kind of feel like people with this placement really need to learn how to nurture yourself. You know, it's not more about like depending on other people to do it for you, but you really need to do it yourself. I think there's a need to kind of nurture your emotions and really like let your emotions be on your sleeve. I kind of feel like, in a sense, like, of course you don't want you don't want to put yourself, I'm trying to say this in a way where it's like, there's a need to be kind of like, to allow yourself to be vulnerable. You know, maybe in a past life you were really hurt in certain ways, and there's parts of you that is very protective of your energy. And yes, you are supposed to be protective of your energy. You're not supposed to tell everybody everything about yourself, but there is also the other side of that. The other extreme is being too guarded, to not let yourself feel free enough to just be yourself. And I honestly feel like that's what Cancer in the 12th house is. Just maybe it's a reminder for people with this ascendant to, you know, make yourself look like a fool. I know you're in the limelight, and I know you want to be maybe seen a certain way, and maybe people see you a certain way, but it's okay to let yourself be seen differently. It's okay to, like, you know, make yourself the butt of the joke. Yes, you're in the limelight, and yes, you know how to be the center of attention, but I mean, if you make a fool of yourself, it's not the end of the world. Let yourself be vulnerable. Let yourself be you. You know, you don't have to be this like smooth, suave person all the time. You know, you could really just be yourself, and being yourself is also like saying, like, these are my flaws, these are my shortcomings, but I'm also confident in those, just not my strengths, you know. And that's why I kind of titled this video Shine Bright Like a Diamond, because you just don't want the best parts of yourself to shine. I really feel like as we're kind of ascending more with the whole spiritual community, it's like there's a need to like just shine bright even with your flaws and everything like that as well. So with that is my take on a Leo rising, Leo ascendant. If you have this placement, just let me know if anything really resonated with you. If I like brought anything to your attention that you probably never thought of before, let me know. And I hope you enjoyed this and you have a good rest of your day.